Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the fourth and last webinar of the Empower Leadership Program. Let's wait just 1 minute as people come in. So please bear with us. Okay, our people. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning again as you're coming. Okay, so welcome to the fourth and last webinar of the Empower Leadership Program. Today we will be talking about governance, data structures, and business models for energy communities. But before we start, let me share with all of you some housekeeping rules. So please note that we are recording this session as of now, and then we will make the recording available online. You are free to ask any questions you want in the chat during the different presentations, and then we will have some Q&A time after each of the presentations from our speakers. And then after that, after the online sessions, we will send all of you an email with the recording, relevant material, like the presentations, and a survey for you to answer. So, having said that, I think, Oscar, we should first present ourselves to the audience, so I let you start.
Yeah, we are familiar faces, but we realized that we didn't really introduce ourselves. So my name is Oscar Ortega. I work at ICLEI Europe, Local Governments for Sustainability, and I hold a Master of Science in Renewable Energy Engineering and Management. And yes, I work in capacity building activities and, for example, this one in Empower. That's it from my side. What about you, Julen?
Thank you. Yeah, hello, I'm Julen Imaya. I'm also working in ICLEI Europe, and I'm specifically in the Green Digital Transformation team. So I think between Oscar being in the energy team, the digital is the perfect mix for this project, which is about digitalization of energy communities. Okay, and as some new people came in, I think we should break the ice before starting with a little warm-up activity. So if you all could please access slido.com with this code or just scan this QR code. This will guide you to the activity. And I'm gonna share the Slido. Don't worry, you will also have the access code in there. 1 second. It's coming. Can you see the Slido? I hope so.
Yes.
Okay. Then let me start it. So, could you let me know if you attended the previous webinars of this Power Leadership Program? Did you attend all 3 previous webinars, only 1 or 2 of them, or this is the first time you're coming here? Okay, I see that most of the people attended just 1 or 2 webinars. I think that's normal, but we have a few that attended all of them that are committed to our leadership program. And then a few of them are absolutely new, so welcome to you, of course, also. Okay, any other answers? Yeah, okay. Another one that attended all 3 webinars. Then we would also like to know where are you coming from? Can you please let us know which is your country or of origin or the country you're connecting from. Okay, Greece is winning so far. Slovenia, have Mexico, Portugal, Switzerland, Ireland, France, Italy, Hungary, Bulgaria, Belgium. Okay, we have a good mix as per usual. We like to ask this in all of our webinars. Okay, and now let's jump to the last question, which is, which principles do you consider most important for the governance of energy communities? So you can order here which is your top principle for the governance in an energy community. Do you think that an open membership and voluntary is more important, or education, training, and more information or communication, or this co-ownership through financial participation is the top importance here? Okay, it's quite balanced, but well, I think now education, training, and information is the most important thing to our audience. I think it makes sense, but later with our speakers, we will learn more about this, and they will actually tell us about these principles and some others that are very important for the governance of an energy community. Okay, so thank you all for replying to our little poll. This was great. Now I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and we can continue with the webinar. 1 second, please. Here. I hope you can see my slides again.
Yeah, we can see.
Thank you. Maybe Oscar, could you let us know which is the agenda for today for the webinar?
Yeah, great, Julian, I can do that. So the agenda for today, you already know, we started with this welcome and this warm-up with the Slido. After that, I'll give a brief introduction to what we call the Empower Playbook. After that, we're going to start with our expert speakers on the first topic of governance for energy communities. After that, we're going to learn about innovative business models with people from Audiencia. Then I'll invite you to get a coffee break and rest a bit and prepare for the next section because it's loaded with a lot of information and a lot of good speakers when we're going through the digital infrastructure and data strategy and data management. So we're going to have speakers from different organizations, technical partners mostly. And we're going to finalize with a wrap up of this leadership program.
Okay, thank you, Oscar.
You're
So
welcome.
then you mentioned a bit about the approach of Empower, and I wonder what is this approach and if there's some guidelines to adopt this approach for the different people that are watching us, the different stakeholders. Can you let us know this a bit more in detail?
Yes, of course. What we're seeing now is the 4 models that were developed for the leadership program. The first one, as most of you know, if you attended, it was about digital services, what they are, how they are practical for us. Then we learned about a bit of regulations because they're very important in all this energy system, which is highly regulated. Then we learn about social engagement approaches, which are central to energy communities. And today we're going to learn about the other pieces of the puzzle, which are governance for effective energy communities, also innovative business models, putting the citizens into the center, and also learning about how to collect data and how to use data for developing these digital tools. So if you go to the next slide, this is exactly what we're going to learn today in the model 4. Scaling up energy communities with effective data strategies, governance, and business models. So you asked me about the approach. So this Empower Structure approach, what we did in the last months, we were developing this leadership program, but also at the same time, we were also thinking of how to put everything together in a practical way and that people can just read it and do not need to go through the slides of these webinars. So that's what we came up. It's the Empower Playbook that we call it. It's yeah, just a document that has definitions of key topics, some practical guidelines about the concept of data-driven energy communities, and what we call a step-by-step guide with some examples, including social engagement, digital approaches, and some case studies from our pilots in Ireland and Austria. That's mostly what it is. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, this is, very similar to the Empower Leadership Program. It exists and it serves people dealing with energy communities, but also people working at municipalities that are interested in the concept. Of course, a natural ally is the energy service providers that can participate in energy communities, either providing services or managing ones. And also social support organizations that are interested in this topic and already provide services to their communities. So that's mainly what this is about, and this is the people who would benefit from it. If you go to the next slide, this is just some information about what you will find. You will learn about how to set the vision for your community. You'll learn about principles of organization of your energy communities, part of digital infrastructure and that strategy, and engagement in activation. It has information of the digital tools that we learned in the program, and also some checklists that help you to go through it. So we wanted to make it practical. So how to use it? I added a really small note. I don't know if you can see it, but it says that steps don't have to go in order, but that's how we came up with it. And the first one, it's interactive, so you can click, Julian. So the first one is the preparation and vision. So here's where you define objectives. Why would you like to set up this energy community? What are your main goals through participating in one? If you want to reduce energy costs, as we learned in the past webinar, or it's a matter of energy security and resilience. So understand what is needed, about regulations, about the critical stakeholders that you need. Then on the second part, on the organizational setup, this is what we're going to learn today about developing business models that put not customers, but citizens in the center. We're also about some governance rules, voting, transparency, etc. Then in the digital infrastructure and data strategy, we're going to learn about how to assess data, how to obtain data, how to choose the data solution that ensure the GDPR compliant access, because this can be sensitive. And last but not least, in engagement and activation, you have some methods to engage people, to raise awareness, and you have some methods as co-creation, as we saw in last webinar, and some incentives that have to be tailored for the different audiences. So that's it in a nutshell. So yeah, we wanted to make it more tangible, so we added these case studies from Dingle. If you may recall, in the first session of this series of webinars, we talk about the CRP tool that makes the citizens engage and understand their energy consumptions, or also the Austrian pilot that is using this nudging app to understand where these windows of opportunity of using more renewable energy, so they can change their behavior and use energy and appliances at that time. We included some checklists, as I said, and the idea is to have one single how-to from the goals to governance and digital tools, everything put together in a simple document. That's mostly what it is. So I think that was my last slide. So yeah, if you have any questions or answers, just to mention, we're going to share the link for the playbook. And we're going to share also the document. It's also possible. So
yeah. Good. Thank you, Oscar. Thanks a lot. I think this is going to be very useful for the audience. So we definitely will include it in the follow-up email afterwards. That's good. And maybe if there are no questions so far, we can jump to our first speaker directly, who is Luis Cachino from Copernico. Luis, can you hear me? I think you are muted. Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Can
morning.
you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. So thank you for the invitation again. and for speaking and talking about governance in energy communities, and also to share our experience in Portugal and what we're doing. And here today we will explain the principles and then give two examples. One from a small structure, emergent community, a local community, and then our case, that cooperative that has more than 12 years of existence, and also how it evolved its structure. So if you can advance to the next slide, please. Right. So in terms of governance of energy communities and its decision making and all this possible, it follows seven key principles. This is also very similar to the principles of the energy communities in Portugal. So in terms for to ensure a smooth and decision making, first of all, and this is also what we've been discussed in this in the warm-ups questionnaire in this presentation is with the voluntary and open membership. So the energy communities itself that should be open to everyone and not exclude anyone apart from social status, race, gender, opinions. So everyone must be included, and this is one of the strengths of energy communities because they allow we can reach out to people in energy poverty, in social exclusion. We can really be able to participate and to bring them to this democratic principle system, which also follows the democratic management, and this is through several organisms that we will discuss later, and really everyone can participate and have a vote. And one of them is really one of the principles is one member, one vote, which is used in associations and cooperatives. The third, it's really the co-ownership for financial participation. A member, when joins the energy community, through a fee of interest as a part of the community of the cooperative or the association, and then it has a co-ownership and also co-responsibility of it. The fourth is really autonomy and independence. So energy community, whether regardless of the legal form, it's autonomous. So at the independent, so it doesn't have influence for a third party and another institution outside. It's really it works for itself and it's independent by itself. The fifth, it was a very curious uh, topic that was in the warm-up. It's and I think it's very important is really to the education, training, and information. Energy community by having by being a bottom-up approach, initiative that has created by citizens as the duty and the power to really educate, training the community that he belongs. So providing resources, providing energy literacy, and providing really uh, these tools for people to take the action by themselves. And the sixth is really the cooperation among cooperatives, and it's very important that the cooperatives learn by each other, or even some activities can be complemented within the cooperatives. And this is a very important aspect. It's more prominent in the countries of Central Europe, like Belgium and the Netherlands, which we have cooperatives for mobility, cooperatives for energy production, house renovation, and even for digital service. And normally they work all together in a network that allows them for land buying with each other and also to be complemented and help the local communities. And the last, but certainly not least, and then probably the most important is really the concern for community. The energy communities have this power to really to provide the benefits for the community itself, and they stay in the communities. So, and also, energy community can really help develop the local context where is uh, certain, especially in economic value at the energy communities. It is studied by a French study that can provide from 2 to 8 more times economic value the projects that are located outside from external parties or external actors of the community. So if you may, the next slide, please. All right. So given these principles, in terms of the what we can share with you in terms of recommendations, if you are now starting and you want to really take action by yourself and really develop your project in your community, it's really first thinking about the legal entity that your energy community will operate, and this first of all must follow the principles that I just mentioned, but especially the to allow everyone to have the same ownership and accountability. So really to put all the participants in the same ground, and also to have the same responsibility, the same ownership, and have a say, the right to say to in the decision making of this uh, energy committee. And by that, our best examples here, it's the energy cooperative or association. And even though that mainly in Portugal, you can have several legal entities to the energy community. Really, the ones that reflect these principles and a more fluid decision-making process, it's really these two. So you can the open and free participation it's more fluid on these two, and also everyone can have the same voting rights. And for the decision making, that process that you can allow everyone to be heard and to participate, and also to have an equal footing in this process, it's really the General Assembly. It's the organism that allow everyone to discuss all the main topics and the main the main decisions of the energy community is through this entity. And this is something that can be nominated through the board, and then it can be done one time or 2 times per year, depending of the structure of the energy community. The voting system, what that we recommend is really the one member, one vote, regardless of the economic participation that you have in the energy community. So this is allow everyone and allow every opinion to be the same, and also to respect and to be heard every voice and every decision. And finally, the structure can have, depending on the maturity of the energy community, it has to have a team that assures the day-to-day management, the decision, and also to be a very rapid decision-making process, at least for the day-to-day issues and the challenges. And then for more structural decisions, and that needs to have the whole consult the whole consultation of the members of the energy community. You have the General Assembly that really allows everyone and you to participate and to be consulted. So, regardless of that, we can have. I will just show you 2 examples of the of how this operates in Portugal, and here the energy communities. Ah, no, I just forgot that. Sorry. So yeah, in terms of the management, it's really to have this border coordination team, and in small communities, since it's a more emergent, a bit more dependent on the voluntary uh, action and the voluntary participants. It's just a small coordination team that can answer the day-to-day questions. And to really to ensure full transparency, and this is a key principle, and also in the energy communities, to be able to show exactly how the state of the energy community the challenges and to really provide everyone to be questioned and to provide continuous improvement of the energy community. It can be done really by the development of report of results and the presentation of those in the energy community in the General Assembly. And this allows the community to really visualize the results and the impact that energy community has in the local context, and also to be able um, to to be discussed and also to be approved. So next slide, please. Right. So given that, we will present two examples of how these principles of how these structures can be done here in Portugal, and the energy communities in Portugal being done or being put into place from 2019, since the RED II directive was transposed. And apart from that, we have this more mature structure that was developed before the RED II directive. So this is as the energy cooperative, and Copernico is already 12 years, or will be very, very soon. And so it's a cooperative, and also belongs to a network of Federation of Energy Cooperatives called RescuePU, who also allows now energy communities of any legal form, um, if the principles of energy community are assured. And our cooperative allows everyone to participate, and everyone can be a member through the purchase of three social titles from they have a unit price of 20 euros. So the interest fee is 60 euros, and then you can have access to all the services of Copernico, of what we do. And this allows everyone from citizens, from NGOs, from SMEs, and also local entities to be able to be our members. So it's allowing full membership and full decision. And in terms of our structure, it's mainly based by the General Assembly, who has a president and a vice president, and they take the structural decisions. And here is where we consult all our members, and the most structural decisions are being done here. And this also elects the boards from every 4 to 4 years. And this board assures the day-to-day decision making. So these members, who happen to be voluntary based, takes all the decisions and all the day-to-day management, and to ensure the the operation of the Copernico is being done in a rapid way. That we have the technical team who operates the decisions, and also and have ensured the operations of the cooperative in daily basis, and participate whether in our activities. We have renewable production investment, we do supply and the commercialization of energy, and also we participate in European projects, which also is our innovation department. And this, we are already a team of 12 that will be expanded to 14 very, very soon. And and it mm, and then we have a fiscal council, which also audits and gives goes into detail to the reports being done by the board. Normally we do the yearly reports of last year, of our activities and our results, and then we do the activities or the plan of activities that will be done by the next year to present the activities and the expected results. They are evaluated by this fiscal council in terms of the accountant and all the technical numbers, and then it's discussed and approved in General Assembly. That happens 2 years per minimum. It can be done, it can have extraordinary General Assemblies. And this voting system, it's one member per vote, regardless of how many members or how many people purchase, how many social titles they have. And then, just like I said, it's really the reports that are being elaborated and that are very validated by the fiscal council and really to be approved in General Assembly. So this is a more matured structure and governance. It's also very similar to many energy communities and energy cooperatives in Europe. But then I will just present a more emergent one, a more smaller one in the next slide, please. Right. So this is a local energy community, and Copernico is being supporting the creation of several energy communities in Portugal, from also to share, and this is also it's the most expression of that principle of cooperation against other cooperatives, that the education, energy, the knowledge sharing, and we've been supporting the creation of these energy communities for all Portugal. And this one is one that was created in 2023. It which is in the neighborhood of Lisbon. It's called Tierras Energy Community, and it was a community that was born within already existing association. It was a neighborhood association that aligned with the local parish, and then Copernica acted as a partner for the technical development of the energy community. So this neighborhood association was the basis of this energy community, in which they created a working group, a nucleus, if you also as a CNO, and this operates individually apart from the association itself. This also allows citizens, and this also includes vulnerable households that were identified and reached out by the local parish, and the SMEs, and also can participate, especially now in the second project that was in a local sports facility that they have at the local parish. It's also a member of this energy community by a collaboration protocol to also to ensure the transparency and also to the free association of the parish within this energy community. And in terms of decision making, they have a general assembly that happens at least once per year, and in this general assembly, it's to present the results and to have the discussion about the next projects and everything. And they also nominated a coordination team that is all voluntary basis, and they meet one time per month to discuss the ongoing challenges and the situations of the energy community. The voting system is the same as Copernico. They have a one member per vote, and they have a relative majority decision making, which means to have their approval, or every point of the assembly must be approved by the more than 50% of the participants. And this is wraps all these two examples. So to conclude, I just want to give an overview how this is made, how it's being done in the other countries that are partners of Empower, and we can see some similarities within Portugal, but in terms of transparency and accountability, which is a key principle, the each member when it's informed whether by email, whether by social media about the status and the results of the General Assembly. So they can have a report by the end of that event in Austria. And in Greece, also there's about that these two reports or the status can be done online by the community energy community website. And the financial documents can be available if they are requested to the energy community. The voting system, it's very similar to Portugal's, the one member, one vote. That is also one of the key principles of the energy community. And also the decision making is done by the General Assembly. And the Greece context, also the major issues are discussed there. And when it's need to be voted, it's uh, within this structure, and we did also in the statutes of the energy community. In terms of the legal entities, in case of Greece, it's more strictly towards the civic cooperative, so it's a cooperative that allows public participation and the private. So you have this all voluntary participation. And Austria, you have more examples and more tragedy, like associations and some cooperatives. But it also makes note that any type of legal entity can be used here, so there's freedom to that. And in terms of the managing it's really the autonomies, and it's within the communities. So ensuring the autonomous principle that was discussed before. And even though that can be have external service providers, you can have to have support, and whether for this management and the decision making. In terms of and also the accounting and legal services also can be done by that in Greece. In terms of the decision making, it's really the General Assembly, and you have this structure that allows everyone to decide what can be discussed, and the statutes can also reinforce that decision making, and also the election of the boards and its members. And the year in Greece is very similar also, and you have this board of directors that has the power to decide the operation and day-to-day management, uh, and also it's very clear whether they can decide and whether can be discussed in the General Assembly through the legal status. So yeah, I think that concludes my presentation. So I'm open to any questions, and we can discuss a little bit about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you very much. Thank you for the very insightful overview on the governance of energy communities. I think we have one question in the chat already that says, how do you secure commitment in an energy community when this is mostly voluntary based? I think referring to the management team itself, this is yes voluntary. How do you secure the commitment?
Yeah, normally it's really about the number of the team, and also to be able to meet once per month, or at least 2 times per month. It really and also to have a really division of roles and responsibilities, like one you have for communication, or have for the management of the production facilities, other you have more the legal such. So I think it's very important to have a team that has a very decision between roles, so so that anyone, you don't have a person or two that as gets filled with the burden of all the roles that need to be done to ensure this operation.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And I think Stephanie raised the hand. Maybe you want to make a question? Stephanie? I don't know if Stephanie can mute herself. Otherwise, Karsten?
Yeah, thank you. I have a question in regards to a recent development which I have observed in Germany, and I wanted to understand if this is also applicable not only in the German context, but Copernico is also really knowledgeable and has a long history. And it relates a little bit to the history. Energy communities, cooperatives, and so on, they have been at the forefront of the energy transition in Germany with installations also on public buildings. And that was 20 years ago. So now these solar panels come into their season. Usually they function still, but they still function, but the feed-in tariffs, they drop out of the feed-in tariff, and potentially the contract is ending. And we have the tendency that by now the city utilities or other actors, meaning the building owner, is now not interested in renting the roof anymore, but is actually wanting to profit in the first place from the more efficient renewable energy panels and so on. So here there is a tendency that energy cooperatives are pushed out of that market and need to look at other spaces and other opportunities, which are often rare nowadays because luckily the energy transition is moving forward. So is that tendency also observed in Portugal, or do you see similarities? And potentially, do we need again the new risk takers on installation, agri-PV, and so on, that is not explored? Again, then, however, the risk is with those that are really eager and invest a lot, also from their perspective ideologically. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Carsten. I think it's a very interesting one. I think in Portugal, in terms of being able to develop energy projects and energy sharing, we see that the challenge to be able to participate or to develop projects mainly in public buildings, because it's really difficult to develop energy project in the public, or to answer energy community to answer a public tender for the roofs in the municipalities for energy sharing. And it's very difficult because the way that the municipalities are developing their tenders, it's really on the economical aspect, and it's really on the lowest price, which this is it's really very difficult to compete, because also we are competing with companies and enterprises that have all the resources and funds to develop their projects, and it's impossible to compete. They will just put a shorter they can do the project at a more cheaper price, and it's very difficult to and the energy communities, it's really important that the municipalities and the local actors can be aware what the the role that energy communities can have in their local community to provide the benefits, to provide the access to energy to the local citizens, and also to be able to participate. And we need to develop new ways to get around this the economical aspect, really, by really providing social criteria to provide criteria that allows participation on the funds from the citizens, and also be really to provide the local development and creation of value, or at least to provide also collaboration between energy communities and municipalities, which also is very difficult to do in Portugal because the framework doesn't allow to. So if those are really, we can overcome those, the energy community movement will be bigger. But apart from that, in the private, we can see now it's starting to have more initiatives. Some of them we have still the financing situation, and really also the licensing, which can be a little bit stressful and very time consuming and process. But yeah, I think this is mainly the points that can help really to push the energy communities movement to another level. So I hope I answered your question.
I think you did. Thank you, Luis. I will read some questions that are accumulating now. So the first one, Stephanie wanted to unmute herself, but it was not possible. So the question was about what is the size of the new community in Austria and in Greece, and how many participants in each example. I unfortunately cannot give you the number of Austria, only if there's any Austrian partner connected that can share the information. But I can share the information about the Greek one. It's an island in Halki. It's a remote island. They have 178 members with 280 connections. And now they're facing some problems because people want to join. So demand excess the installed capacity, which is a solar PV plant, ground mounted, of 1 megawatts. So yeah, but the Austrian, I cannot go back to you in that and answering that. Then there was another question related to the 20 communities, just to link them. They are asking if they are connected to each other or just two separate examples. No, they are two separate examples.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Lucia. It really hard to separate examples here. It's one we have, Copernico is a nationwide energy cooperative that operates in Portugal, mainland and islands. And in this case, the Tierras, it's really a local energy community. Here, Copernico participated only in the creation of the energy community, provided technical assistance for their implementation, but really operates and it's autonomous by itself. And really here, Copernico, when it participates in the creation of energy communities, it's only to provide the technical assistance and the knowledge sharing so they can really start their project and be able to operate by themselves. But we don't want to manage and to have any type of control of these energy communities. We just help them rise up, and then we just let them be. And I think there's a second part of
Yes.
this question.
I think Stephanie also asked if what is the model, if it's a rooftop solar panels for these energy communities, and maybe at the same time, if you could answer the question from Lucia that asked how energy communities can promote participation of vulnerable groups of people.
Yes, sorry, because I think if there's a second part of that question also can give me some info about the choice of legal entity type of terms of governance and the benefits they bring to the development of energy community. Yeah, I think from our experience, it's really being down to these two legal entities, the association and energy cooperative. In terms of the first project or the really the emergent status of the energy community, I think the association can be a first choice to will to have your project starting, because some of them can come from already existing legal entities like neighborhoods association, social and cultural association, and yeah, or even NGOs, even though that we don't still have an example for that, but you can take in these cases, and then you can adapt your status and really have the project for one or two facilities to be managed. It's better for the first project, but then if you want to expand to have another activities and the protection for that, I think cooperative is best for that, because it allows in terms of governance and decision making, and also ownership. It can be better for to have an energy cooperative, because it it has a separated competences, and also in terms of the management of the projects, it's more fluid. And
Yeah, I think
I see
the
that Stephanie has a question about the model. I believe it's about Tierra's one. It's a
the I would say the two example energy communities, do they use solar panels or?
Well, in terms of Tierra's, it's more straightforward, because it's a major one. It's install investing in production in installation of solar panels that allows energy to be shared between 18 points of consumption, which is 17 families and a parish, and everyone receives a percentage of those of that energy within the 15-minute interval. So, and this is the people invest upfront, and you get the savings by the reduction of your energy bills to the energy sharing. And Copernico, it's a little bit different, because we have to take in context in 2013, we didn't have the Renewable Energy Directive, and we didn't have the energy sharing model. So it was mainly the first activity investment of energy production. Our members put their savings on the renewable energy production, and we worked with social economy buildings and entities from Portugal, and they received the electricity. They paid back to us in a small in a cheaper price than they have in their supplier, and that's how we pay back our members in a nutshell. And then also we have supply activity. We have another European projects that allows also our that allowed our cooperative to grow.
Okay. Thank you, Luis. And then maybe quickly, I think there was one question we didn't reply, which was the one of how to engage the vulnerable groups of people in energy communities. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. In terms of in the local context, Tierras did that perfectly by the parish identified 3 families for their social services that they got the criteria. And these 3 families were brought by the parish, in which the parish paid the interest fee for 2 of them. They paid so the energy, the vulnerable households didn't have to pay anything to be part of, to join this energy community. And also they have the same voting right as the others. So this was one way to allow vulnerable households to be participate. At the other participant, the interest costs were diluted or shared by the other participants in the energy community. So that's one way that you can do it. And the others, like we do at Copernic, we do energy literacy sessions with them. We do capacity building. And then in our supply offer, just any other supply, you can go for a social tariff that allows a discount of your in the energy supplier contract. So these are some examples.
Okay, thank you. I think Stephanie has a couple of follow-up questions, but maybe can you answer in the chat directly to her for a matter of time, and we can move on to the next presentation. Thank you, Stephanie. I think Luis can reply to you now. But Oscar, who is our next speaker?
Yes, exactly. Just linking to that, I also added an interesting report that I found recently into this very topic of energy communities and vulnerable people. So I just send it to the chat if you want to take a look. But now coming back to the webinar, yes, the next speaker is going to talk about business models for energy communities with a consumer-centric approach. And it's going to be Georgia from Audiencia University. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Oscar. So hello from our side too. So Audiencia was in charge of developing Empower's business model sandbox, and today I'll present the part that's related to the methodology and the process that we use to develop the consumer-centric business models, as Oscar mentioned. So next slide, please. But before we jump into the energy communities, I think that we should start from the basics. So what does a business model actually do? Let me briefly explain that the business model is simply a structured way to describe how an organization or a company works, how it creates value, how it delivers it, how it captures it, so as to stay sustainable. So a business model actually answers three big questions. Who are we serving? What are we offering them? And how do we make this work, both from a technical perspective, but also from a financial perspective? So to organize all that, most organizations use what is called the business model canvas, or the BMC as it is written in the presentation. So try to think of it as a visual map, like a one-page overview of how the whole system operates. And it divides the business into 9 building blocks, let's say, grouped into 3 big areas. So the first area is the value creation. There we find the key activities, the key resources, and the key partners. You can follow what I'm saying on the graph that is up on the up and right side of the screen. And then we have the second area, that is the value delivery. There we spot the customer segments, the value proposition, the channel, and the customer relationship. And the third one is the value capture. And in this area, we spot the revenue streams and also the cost structure. So in simple terms, it's the business model canvas. It's actually a framework that captures let's say, the full logic of how an organization creates and sustains value. Now, this model, the business model canvas, I think that they want you, Oscar, to zoom in the graphic if it's possible. So the business model canvas works really well for companies, especially in sectors, let's say, like retail or technology, where you have a clear product, a clear customer, and a clear revenue line. But when we move into the concept of energy transition, especially into energy communities, this logic becomes more complex, because here we don't have customers, we have citizens, prosumers, and local actors who are actually producing, consuming, and governing energy together. So the traditional business model canvas doesn't fully capture what's happening according to Audiencia's perspective. It misses the social and participatory dimensions of how value is created and shared. So in Empower, that was exactly what we tried to fix. So we took this traditional framework and we expanded it. not just, let's say, to look at the economic or the technical value of it, but also to give it a social value, a data value, and a participatory value. So, for instance, instead of company managing everything, we looked at how different stakeholders, such as the citizens, the municipalities, the energy providers, can co-design and co-manage the model together. So rather than a static business blueprint, with let's say a more interactive business model sandbox that is flexible, that can reflect the participation, where people, technology, and governance can, let's say, interact dynamically. So in our work under Empower, we started from the business model, a simple business model archetype that you can see in the bottom part of the presentation, that capture only the energy and the financial flows. And then to the next level, we tried to expand it and by start drawing more lines so as to include all the other flows that I will explain later. So next slide, please. Yeah. So as to give you a bit of a concept that we had in mind initially. So the shape that you see is what we call the 4Ds model, and it actually captures the four major transformations that are currently shaping the European energy landscape. We have decarbonization, decentralization, digitalization, and democratization. Each of these represent a key driver, and together all these, they form the foundation for the new generation of the business model. But let's unpack what each D really means. We can start from decarbonization, that refers to the shift toward clean and renewable energy systems. And it's about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, integrating renewables, and in an essence, moving away from fossil fuels. So this transition creates entirely new market dynamics, where, let's say, carbon pricing, flexibility, and local generations becomes the core business element. Then we're moving to the decentralization part, that is about bringing generation closer to consumption through prosumers and, of course, energy communities, microgrids, and even local energy trading. And it challenges the traditional top-down approach of the system by distributing ownership and control among all the involved parties. Then we're moving to the digitalization part. And through this is achieved through technologies like smart meters, digital twins, demand response platforms, and data center. And we believe that this becomes a new form of value because it allows to coordinate and monitor and optimize energy use in real time. And that's where many of Empower's technical enablers come in. And finally, we have the democratization part, which is really at the heart of the approach that we followed. And it refers to the inclusion of energy citizens as active participants in all the decision-making processes, and of course in benefit sharing. And so when we combine these four dimensions, what we get in the center is the new innovative consumer-centric business model that reflect both the technological but also the social sides of the energy transition. So next slide, please. So I will now unveil the methodology that we use, since I have introduced the conceptual framework. So the process followed 6 structured steps, and the first step was that that we did is we began by engaging directly with stakeholders from all the 6 empowered pilot sites in Austria, Portugal, Greece, Hungary, and Ireland. The stakeholders we addressed were either community members, technology providers, aggregators, municipalities, and local energy authorities, or even system operators. We used semi-structured interviews and co-creation sessions with them, so as to collect both quantitative but also qualitative data on how each community operates. And the aim of that was to understand their realities, not just their technical or economic terms, but also their governance practice, their participation levels, their local challenges, and the way they perceive the local cultures. And in the next step, all the data that we collected from the semi-structured questionnaires and interviews were then organized into an Excel-based grid that actually became our main analytical tool. And we created 6 sheets in that Excel that include 6 domains: the technological, the financial, the social, the regulatory, the governance, and the environmental domain. Each sheet contained open questions aligned with specific business model canvas components. The next step was to use these data inputs, and we tried to recreate the business model canvas with the input taken from the semi-structured interviews. Then, on the next step, we tried to move into mapping the flows that we captured in the Excel sheets. So, except from energy and financial data, we also tried to create the flows that were related to citizens' participation. And yeah, next slide, please. And here you can see some of the indicative questions that were included in the semi-structured questionnaires we designed for the project. So this questionnaire was distributed to 35 stakeholders of the involved community members across all pilot sites. And as I mentioned before, these stakeholders included representatives from energy communities, technology providers, local authorities, and of course, active citizens, the end users. So the goal was actually to collect all the contextual and qualitative information about how its community operates, not only from a technical perspective, but also in terms of participation and local culture. The questionnaire was structured in thematic sheets that you can see here with the different colors. The format of the questionnaires that we gave them to complete was semi-structured, meaning that while the same set of guiding questions was used across all pilots for comparability, participants were, let's say, encouraged to elaborate freely and provide examples from their real experience without us giving specific directions. So this way, the answers gave us both consistency across pilots, but also richness, if I may say, in local insights, allowing us to capture how each community actually functions in practice. So next slide, please. So once we had collected and organized all the stakeholder responses, the next step for us was to translate those insights into the business model canvas structure and to connect them with the specific technical enablers that were developed by the technical providers of the project. So what you see here is a simplified version of that mapping that we did. Each row represents one business model canvas segment combined with a representative stakeholder quote from the semi-structure interviews, a simplified quote, of course. So these quotes help us identify what kind of activities or partnership or value propositions were emerging from within the communities directly. Then for each of these, we match the most relevant technical enabler developed from Empower's technical providers according to its functionality. For example, when a stakeholder told us, we coordinate peak demand collectively. This insight was linked to the key activity block of the business model canvas and directly associated with technical enabler 7 that was referring to the demand response aggregation. That revealed the presence of a flexibility flow with a clear participatory function. We did this process similarly to other calls from stakeholders. Another stakeholder said, our DSO supports grid balancing. So we linked that to the key partners block from the business model canvas, and then to the technical enabler 4, which is a flexibility platform. And here again, the flow was related to flexibility, but the functions shifted to external actor integration, showing how cooperation between communities and system operators become part of the value network. This is an important thing to say. Under the value proposition, one of the strongest statements, maybe from the majority of the pilot stakeholder, was we value shared governance over energy assets. And that was matched with the technical enabler 1, which is a participation platform that creates a citizen integration flow, supporting citizens' engagement, transparency within the community, and also co-decision making. Finally, when communities mentioned that older residents trust local initiatives, we interpreted that within the customer segments block of the business model canvas, and we connected it with the technical enable 13 that is related with accessible user interface. And this enabler, according to our perspective, this enabler supports data and communication flows, ensuring inclusion and accessibility for all the user groups within the community. So what's really important here is that this process helps us to visualize the connection between human behavior, technology, and system design. Because we believe that all the technical enablers that the technical providers of the project developed don't really exist in isolation. They actually actively meditate how value is created and experienced within the community. And we believed, in other words, that the technical enablers act as a bridge between the structural logic of the business model canvas and the participatory dynamics of the energy community. Let's move to the next slide. So this slide actually shows the outcome of the entire process, how a traditional business model developed into a more complex and participatory architecture. If you remember, in the first archetype, there were only two flows, the energy flow and the financial flow. But through the stakeholder insights, the business model canvas mapping, and the integration of the technical enablers, we were able to add new dimensions, new lines. We draw new lines. These were the data flows, the flexibility flows, and most importantly, the citizen interaction flows. So what you see here is not only a technical diagram, it's a representation of how energy communities actually function as a socio-technical ecosystem. So here, this archetype is for the Austrian pilot. At the center, you have the community ESCO and the local grid controller, which acts as the operational and the governance core of the community. Around them, if you can zoom in, Oscar, you can see that we integrated the trading platform and the mobility and charging services, representing the new market facing and service-oriented activities. On the left, we have the RES project that provide generation capacity, and the different lines shows the multiple types of flow that now exist between actors. The red line represent the energy flows, the green lines represent the financial transactions, the blue lines represent the data exchange, the purple lines capture the flexibility services, and we also have the lines that illustrate the citizen and the community interaction. What is really important here is that the new business model does not only facilitate energy exchange, but also facilitates participation, because to us, citizens are no longer passive consumers. They actively coordinate flexibility, engage in decision-making, even contribute to governance structures through platforms that enable them to do so by the use of the technological enablers that our technical providers developed. So I think that's all from us. I didn't really get into the details of the methodology that we use to translate the technical enablers into the business model archetypes, but if you want, I can do so. I don't know. It depends on the questions that you're gonna have.
We can go to the Q&A now, and we can include that information in the slides we share with the people in here, if you think it's better. Super quickly, before going to the coffee break, there was a question about national financial incentives to local energy communities in Austria and Greece, and Elias from the Hellenic Association of Energy Economics already answered this information in the Greek context. He said that the Greek government does not provide direct financial incentives for energy communities. There are other types of support, such as exemption from licenses, fees, and insurance contributions, and also other funding opportunities on the national and the EU level. If there's any other question, you can put it in the chat, but now I think we are a bit running out of time, so we will go straight to the coffee break. But please, if you have any question to Georgia, to what she just presented, how to develop these business models, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, we reconvene. It's now 11:19, so we come back 11:24. Okay? So yeah, we have 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's slowly come back and reconvene our session. Hope everyone is here. We're going to talk now about data collection and management strategies. And we will start with Dimitrios Apostolidis from European Dynamics in Greece, who will present from methods to meaning how Empower turns energy data into community actions. So, Dimitrios, if you are already here, I will give you the floor.
Hello all. I'm very glad to be here with you today. I am Dimitrios Apostolidis from European Dynamics in Greece. Today I'll open the discussion on how Empower helps turn scattered energy data into something communities can actually use, with clear, trustworthy insights that support local action. We can move to the next slide. Okay. First of all, I'll start with the problem, so how we approached it, and then with a short real-life story before handing over to the next partners. Every solar panel, every battery, every home is talking, but not in the same language. That's the observation. In most energy communities, data already exists and try to be exchanged and transferred through smart meters, apps, and invoices. The real challenge isn't collecting more data, it's making what we have useful and trustworthy and sometimes interoperable. That's where Empower comes in. Our job is to turn technical data into shared community knowledge that helps people understand, decide, and act together. We can move to the next slide. First of all, let's talk about the Empower's data connector, which is the node that is used to transfer the data. We can think our connector as Google Translate for energy devices, including the data exchange between them. It's a small, lightweight piece of software that talks to every meter and sensor, no matter the industry or the brand that constructs it. And its scope is to clean, harmonize, and move the data between the providers and consumers, and send it safely to the Empower dashboard and forecasting tools. It can even run on a tiny local box like a Raspberry Pi or simply on a regular PC. We need no data centers, no complexity, just we need to plug in, configure our connector, and start exchanging data. Let's move on to the next slide, which is a real example that is performed in Empower between Cuerva and Vatiz. Let me bring this to life with a concrete example. In Spain, Cuerva worked with families who wanted to understand their energy consumption with greater detail, such as knowing the average energy consumption per appliance class. However, the DSO smart metering devices don't register the consumption per appliance, but instead all the energy is received from the grid and is aggregated. So there comes Vatiz, which made their low disaggregation technology that precisely does this identification and quantification at Cuerva disposal, so they could address the Cuerva's need. To make this data exchange and this process work seamlessly, we introduced okay, I can continue. We introduced the Empower connector, configured to pull data from Cuerva clients and upload it to Vatis, using the Vatis low disaggregation service, which with this data was able to provide back the results of the analysis in a monthly basis to Cuerva. In turn, Cuerva shares these results back to the clients. The Empower connector connects technologies and allows households to see how their power consumption is being analyzed, and extends to live suggestions or more technical instructions. As you see in the final sentence, no manual uploads are needed, and any expertise, technical skills, just inside helping people to act and consume or don't consume their power, their energy. So more or less, this was all about the Empower connector in a real life, as a real life solution.
Thank you so much, Dimitrios, for this really clear and straightforward introduction and practical examples. I think this way is how we can really understand the real value of all these tools and technologies that all the partners are developing. So thank you very much. And now we'll continue to the next part. Thank you. Thanks to you. To the next part, we are going to be talking about data collection tools for energy communities, and some practical applications. Today, together with Mario Cauto from EPRI and Clement Regar from COMS. Firstly, I introduce you to Mario, and he will be sharing some slides about their work in this project. So the floor is yours, Mario.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Oscar, for the introduction. So I will give you a quick overview about what we are doing in the Irish pilot. So I'm Mario Cauto from EPRI Europe. We are a research institute on the power system area, and we are developing solutions together with other Irish pilots partners to support this Irish pilot to have demand response strategies. Next slide, please, Oscar. Okay, just to explain what we have done so far. So based on the previous project in the area where this community is located, ESP, which is the main utility in Ireland, developed a unified ICT solution to support flexibility trials and empower participants to become active energy citizens. And the idea is to give them access to their own energy. And this platform, the idea is to have this platform to enable information and proactive engagement with the electricity network. So as you can see, based on this previous project, this platform was created to get data from residential customers and to develop this flexibility trial. And as you can see in the figure, basically we have the traditional meter from the distribution system operator that measures basically our energy consumption. But in this ICT architecture, other devices were implemented. So like I would say sub-metering, where we can capture the solar PV production, as you can see with Salis, which is the platform, Wallbox, so just for EVs, and we have data about the EV charging behavior in Dingle with start and end connection, charging times, the EV load charging. So good information to characterize the EV load charging. And at the same time, we have, for example, with the Rentalmatics, EV journeys with the distance, duration. So we can also understand the EV diverse behavior. And also the Sonnen. So we also captured how some of these residential customers use their residential battery energy storage system. So this is good because we don't have only the information from the smart meter, because usually with a smart meter, it is good to get data, but it's like net metering. We don't know how people are using other assets. So this is one of the things that we are using. So we are taking advantage of this previous project in Dingle to use this data for the Empower project. Of course, as you can see, we are capturing data for different assets: solar PV, battery storage, EV charging, and the participation. Of course, some devices were installed in this previous pilot to get this data. Of course, the households were carefully selected to ensure diverse demographic representations. They also received the full suite of clean energy technology, as I described before, along with this real-time and historical energy monitoring via dedicated web and mobile applications. So another piece that we are developing here in Empower that is important is the data protection, because one of the main concerns to get data for energy communities, and this is a question that people usually raised, is about data protection and data privacy, because we'll have access to information and we can know how people use their assets and so on. So they want to protect themselves, that we can use this data for marketing purpose or to try and sell services. But one of the things is to get access to the data, but in an anonymized way. So we don't know who are these customers. So we get this data just to create our models and to divide the tools, to develop the tools. So this is something that I would like to say is, to get access to data is very important to develop the models and to develop the tools to support the local community, because without data we cannot understand and we cannot support the local community to define strategies for energy management, to understand how the community can save money, changing their behavior, how they can use storage, how they can use EV. So without this data, we cannot have an effective solution for developing the tools to support the local community. Next slide, please. So this is just to give you two quick examples about what we got. For example, on left, you can see the solar PV data. So based on the ICT platform developed from the previous pilot and based on historical data for the local community. So which is important is we have this pilot in Dingle and we are using real data. Okay, it's historical data, but it's real data from the field. We can understand energy behaviors locally. And on the left, you can see some seasonal weather partners related to the solar PV. We can understand how many days with clear skies, overcast days, so cloudy days. It's very important to characterize, for example, the solar PV production and how we can take advantage of that, and the profitability of installing solar PV. So this kind of stuff. On the right, you can see electric vehicles data. As I showed before in the previous slide, we get data about EV journeys and EV charging. And we can understand, for example, in these two charts, the start and end time distributions for the households with EVs, and we can identify activity windows for EV charging or decharging. As you can see, very related to the morning and the evening. So and based on this, we can aligns the residential EV charging to use more renewables. For example, how we can shift is possible some EV charging to meet the solar PV production, or we can store energy from the solar PV production and release this energy later to charge the electric vehicle. So it's very important to understand and to visualize first visualize the data, and then to understand how create and calibrate our models. And next slide, please. Yeah, this is another piece of work that we are developing with other Irish partners, which namely DC6. It's a company providing energy monitoring systems, and in particular they developed this Watrix system. So this system allows visualizing energy, and is also very important for us as a research institute to unlock data access. So this is a typical dashboard where the user, in this case, is for a commercial site, specifically a hotel. They can visualize real-time and historical energy consumption, and this is not only for, let's say, the overall energy consumption. They can see breakdown consumption by zones, by different circuits. They can monitor and perform through intuitive charts. For example, how many could be the electricity bill based on its consumption. So there are different ways for the end users to visualize the energy consumption overall, and also the breakdown per circuit. But on the other hand, is also important for us because, for example, based on this data protection and anonymized data, DC6 can share with us this data set. So we don't know who is the customer, but we can understand and model this energy behavior. And we can get access to data. So we can download or develop other ways to get data. And we can use this data for create our models. So my key message based on our experience is the importance to get data and to convince people to share this data. Of course, we have in place these dashboards and these visualization tools for them to check their energy consumption, but at the same time, we need to convince them to share this data. And again, data protection, data privacy are topics that we are addressing as well in the project. And granular data on weather, households behavior, and technology usage is the foundation for building smart models that empower communities to manage energy effectively and efficiently while ensuring privacy and security. So this is one of the key parts of our work in this pilot. So back to you, Julian and Oscar.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you very much. And we actually now will jump to Clem Berger from Consensus. And I think you are going to share your slides, right?
Yes. Okay. Hello, also from my side. Let's start the presentation. So I will shortly present how the GDPR regulates the data collection and processing. So GDPR is a general data protection regulation, which is EU law that governs how the organizations can collect, process, and protect personal data within the European Union. It was adopted in April 2016 and became effective in 2018. So GDPR aims to give the individuals control over their personal data, and it applies to all the organizations that handle the residents' data from EU. And GDPR is focused mainly on the transparency, accountability, and data protection. So who is using or can use the data according to the GDPR? GDPR defines the data roles and responsibilities. So the main roles that are defined there are, the first role is the data subject, that's the individual. Like an example of the energy communities, that's a community participant sharing the energy data. Data controller is the next role, is the organization that manages how this data is processed in the scope of the energy communities. Data controller is actually an energy community management platform. And there is a data processor who is a third party that processes the data on behalf of the data controller. In the scope of the energy communities, the data processor can be the energy community management platform itself, or the external provider that provides some service like, for example, forecasting, energy consumption forecasting, or similar stuff. And there is also a supervisory authority, which is a national authority that monitors GDPR compliance and handles complaints. So under the GDPR, there is also a definition that the purpose of the data collection and usage should be clearly defined. So there are several purposes that can be used here. So it's the first one is contractual necessity. So the necessity to collect data is to perform the original functionality of the, for example, energy community. Then it's legal obligation, which is the purpose where the, for example, energy community management platform or somebody else is has to comply to some legal requirements, like storing some records that have to be stored, like tax records, consumption records, similar stuff. So there are the legitimate interests. Organization can collect data for the legitimate needs, like improving the services, fraud prevention, similar stuff. And there is also a consent. So the individual gives informed consent to process the data. So the platform or organization ask for request for consent from the participant to share the data for specific purposes. Then also we have the vital interests. So this is to protect, in some cases, for life protection, like in emergency medical data sharing, and there is also a public task as a purpose, where the official authority collects some specific data that are of public interest. So, for example, government census. So there are also the core principles of data protection. All the data have to be collected in a lawful, fair, and transparent manner. So the organization have to transparently specify how they will use the data. There is a purpose limitation. So the data only can be used for the specifically stated purposes. Then there is a minimization of the data. So only the necessary volume of data should be collected. Then it's accuracy, like how the data have to be updated to be up to date. And then it's a storage limitation for how long the organization is storing the data, and also the integrity and confidentiality, where the specific security measures have to be applied to protect the data. And then it's accountability, where the organization should be able to demonstrate the compliance to the GDPR. So what are the rights and compliance measures that are defined inside the GDPR? So it's first, the data subject have specific rights. They should have access to their data. They can request the correction or the deletion of the data. So there is an so-called rights to be forgotten. So if the person wants to leave the energy community, there should be a mechanism that deletes their data. There should be a possibility to withdraw any consent that was given, and the user can object to processing the data. There should be also an option to data portability, to move the data to other supplier, and also to be informed of the data breaches. And for the organization, they have to ensure compliance by giving clear explanation how the data is being used. The clearest example is for the websites which inform you about the cookies, and you have to agree to give a consent to process the cookies. There is also for the high-risk processing systems, there is a requirement that special data protection impact assessment is done to assess specific risks of the data, and also contracts between the controllers and processors have to be managed. Employees have to be trained to know how to deal with the regulation, and in special cases also a data protection officer has to be introduced into the organization. So to finalize this presentation, there is a definition of personal data, which is the core idea behind of GDPR. So the personal data is any information that can identify a living individual directly or indirectly. Another word for the personal data is also personal identifiable information. So some examples of the personal data are the personal data like email address, phone numbers, name, some identification numbers from the passports, biometric data, but most importantly, electricity power consumption profile is also a personal identifiable information, and it's sensitive data in a way, because if somebody have energy consumption profile and alone some specific behavioral patterns can already be identified, and together with some contextual information, also the actual person behind that can be identified. So yeah, the electricity power consumption is a sensitive data that has to be managed properly. So that's all from my side.
Thank you, Clement. Just a quick reminder that today's session finishes at 12:30. Of course, if you need to go before, that's also possible, but yeah, just to know that we are going to finish at that time. And also, yeah, just because of time reasons, we will skip the Q&A section and we will go directly to the next section, which is the example that we talk about data and how to collect it and how to ensure it is protected. Now we're going to talk about how it's used in the digital tools. And we have some lessons learned from our technical partners. We'll have short presentations by Antonio Sergio from Inchtech, from Lorenzo Fogli from DST, and from Carolina Pastor and Carlos Bernabé from Cardiff. So without further delay, I'll introduce you to Inchtech, and Antonio, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Oscar. So my name is Sergio. I work at Inchtech and at Center of Power and Energy Systems. And today I will discuss a bit our experience in the Npower project. We have some tools here developed, and how we use the data that is available in the project and the issues and so on. So next, yeah, thank you. So the first two topics here, engagement of local actors and the data access barriers, Mario and Clement already mentioned them, so I will skip to the next one. So when we have in fact the data, mainly here from the pilots, we notice that there are two main patterns. So the first one is like a lack of standardization. So we receive data in very different formats. So it can be like an Excel file, and others we have a CSV. The structure of the files is not exactly the same. That is normal. Then we have some hidden information in some reports and so on. So that is usually a burden because we have the tools and we are expecting to receive the inputs in a certain format. And then what we need to do most of the times for our tools is to like make some data co-creation and so on, so we can use that data in our tools. Another thing that usually happens is that we have some gaps in the data because sometimes the meters fail. Then we have data that is missing. For instance, we can have like 1 hour is missing. Then there are periods of 1 day that are also missing. So we need to be ready to take care of those gaps. There is, for instance, one example from our tools. We have a tool which is called SciTech, which is mainly to do the sizing of the PV panels and batteries. And for instance, one of the information we miss in the data that we have here in this project is the available area in the rooftops of the buildings of each household. So in that case, we need to make we don't have that data and we need it for our tool. So in those cases, we need to make some assumptions, and those are the only ways we have to deal with this. Next slide, please. Okay, then here we have like another problem that usually happens, which is when the project starts, we have an idea of the tools we are developing and what we will do, and usually we have a forecast for the data we will be receiving. But most of the time, then in the end, we are not receiving that data. For instance, one of our tools, which is the FATEC tool, which is mainly related to the elasticity of the consumers. And by this, I mean the willingness of the consumers to change their consumption behavior. So if the prices at this moment are high, the energy prices are high, and the consumer takes a look at that and okay, he delays the turning on of the washing machines for tonight because tonight the prices will be lower. That is a consumer with higher elasticity, and we needed data for improving our model, and in this case, we were expecting to receive that data at the beginning of the project, but there were some delays, and we didn't receive that data. So we needed to find another solution. So we need to develop other models, to do some research to face this setback. Another topic that should be taken in consideration is the development of the tools must be looking at the final users level of knowledge of these topics, because of course, like an end user will not have our knowledge and technical expertise. So on that sense, we need to take be careful and design the tools in a very simple way, so everyone can use those tools. Next slide, please. So just to finalize, here we have some lessons learned to be implemented in future projects. So the first one, it would be great if we, even in the beginning of the project, if we knew exactly what kind of data we will be receiving from the pilots. Then we should also maybe define some data standards. That would be great. I know it is not that easy for this to happen, but if we have like standardized data and we received all of the data in the same format and so on, this would make the work of the tool developers very much more easy. Then we should also engage the local actors from the beginning, because like Mario said, it is very important that we get the data, because in that way we can understand their behaviors and we can improve our tools to match their behaviors, and it will benefit in the end. The idea is to benefit the local actors. And other than that, maybe design some flexible tools, because even with all of those recommendations, we know that in the end, that there will be some missing data, some data that will not be available. That is perfectly normal. So maybe the tools should also be ready to deal with these gaps. With this data that is missing, so they can run in a smoothly way. And yeah, that's it for my hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you very much for this overview on data collection and the lessons learned. And now we will go to Lorenzo Fogli from DST to tell us about the Empower Flexibility Marketplace component and data management.
Yes, thank you, Julian. Thank you, Oscar, and good afternoon to all of you. Nice to meet you again. Dear, just a little quick presentation from my side. I'm Lorenzo Fogli from DST, as you can see there, representative for DST, which is the leaders of developing of the marketplace for WP4, which communicates the security, trade, flexibility, and energy services for this project. Also using a very scary words in these terms with the blockchain, but I don't want to go so in depth with this topic, so we can skip for the next slide, please. Okay, so here we can see that we can talk and we would like to show how the Empower Flexibility Marketplace transforms raw energy data into trusted, tradable, and value for local communities. All these aspects keeping the citizens at the center of the topic. So what is the marketplace for this scope? We can say that it's just an online platform that uses data to help and to allow the local energy communities to trade verified flexibilities. So about flexibilities, we talked about the behavior that the different participant can act given a request from the different parties involved in these communities. So like shifting community consumption or discharging batteries. And all these aspects are important to support the grid balancing. As you can see there at the bottom of these slides, everything works like a data-driven cycle that starts from a DSO or the BRP that activates sessions defining the need of these flexibilities. Once this bidding phase starts, the prosumer submit offers based on the data that we care for the real-time capabilities that are backed, of course, by actual data from their meters, like IoT devices and all the systems that are connected with their specific commitment. About the commitment, as I said, the system match bids and offer. That is crucial because the prosumer is notified and their commitment is locked. This is not just like a promises, but this is a data verify obligation that's created that creates trust and security layer in all the application that we are currently developed. About the verification and executions, we can say that during the delivery, the system doesn't rely on self-reporting because it's ingested real-time data from, as I said, IoT sensors to verify that the promised kilowatt promised, they're actually delivered. And at the end of the cycle, of course, we can define the settlement, so the payments, the rewards, and the penalties are triggered automatically based on the verified data. And if a prosumer under-delivers their provision, the penalty is applied proportionally to the shortfall. This is not just a promise that, of course, the different participants allows to request in the marketplace flexibilities, but this is where the trust is built. So every commitment is supported by verified data. But as you can see there in the slides, why it matters for communities and of course for the data, because as I said, it gives them transparency and trust. So with no more guesswork, just measurable outcomes for the scope. It turns the citizens into active participants in the communities. So in fact, we consider it like prosumers, so half of producers and consumers. Reduce, of course, the grid stress and co-treatment of rewardable energies because the decisions are made on real and not on reported data. And it is important because enables automated settlements and penalties, ensuring, of course, the fairness without manual oversight. Next slide, please. Yes, here just a very quick overview how your data are managed in the marketplace. So my previous partners and colleagues define also the different aspects for the security layers, the regulatory system, and all the compliance with the GDPR. And also, as Antonio said, we need to make it easy and user-friendly for the final users. And of course, all these aspects and this information like numbers and letters put it together allows us to determine how your data is managed and how we can adopt this in a backend ways, all the material for show to you the simplest ways as possible. Next slides, please. So, as you can see there, the topic of these slides is about the data-centric recommendations and the role of the digital wallet. About the digital wallet is not just for tokens, but these aspects allows the participant to have digital identities and also on-chain identity and short-tied to a user's real-world energy behavior. This is also how it's designed for the final users because allows to private keys and encrypted and managed by the platform using a dual layer system. So is, for instance, the classic login registration for your probably application on your mobile phone. Everything is connected with email system that allows you to get PIN to make it the system secrets and also to be able to verify if all the process for the authorization, authentication, and then the end login are managed and completed. And important to say that the users never handle root keys. Yet every transaction is cryptographically tied to their verified energy data because when you make an offer, the wallet locks collaterals. So as I said at the first slides, when you deliver, the wallet receives payments in a ways all automatically, all traceable and linked back to your actual performance. And we can say also that the wallet is like the mechanism for preventing opportunistic behavior, because of course, all these elements are not just saying with a human in the loop concept, but of course, behind are different logic, different components that create this and prevent this opportunistic behavior, because the deposit is held until delivery is verified. So, of course, if you don't meet your commitment, the penalty is enforced automatically, based on the data that we are currently trying to manage in these terms. So, of course, the real data from the IoT devices. It's important to say, of course, that all of these elements take care from the needs of the participants. There are different roles and rules in the marketplace that need to be applied for each instance and for each partners, of course, because we said that we had different main topic and partners like DSOs, BRPs, that creates the offers, and then the other participant, like an aggregators, the prosumers as well, can satisfy these needs for the grid balancing. And to finalize this presentation, I would say that the Empower Marketplace is a data-centric engine. That is just not to say that trade flexibilities, but the flexibility is verified, is auditable, and for the scope, of course, for the project and for the secureness of all the participants, to sharing the trustworthy flexibilities. So I suppose that is all from my side. And if you, of course, have any questions, I'm here to help to understanding probably better this topic. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Exactly. Yeah, there's the chat if people want to make some questions. But now we are going to the next presentation. It's going to be delivered by Cartif. I think Carolina is out there, and yeah, she will introduce you about the user interface and experience.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Carolina from Cartif Technology Center, and we are developing an interactive decision tool that turns complex energy planning into something simple and useful for real communities, making the process of designing as user-friendly as possible for non-technical users. So really quickly, I will describe the development process. So next slide, please. Okay, here you can see a diagram in which there are the different steps for the iterative development process to integrate user experience requirements into the user interface. The first step is data collection. Next slide, please. Okay, so first we identified goals of the Empower pilot size, also social aspects to be considered to increase engagement and citizen participation. And also a workshop was held to learn what motivates people to join renewable energy communities and identify the most relevant indicators to include in the digital tool to support them. With all this data, we go through the next steps that are to learn about all those factors, have a group brainstorming process, and then start building some... next one. And then start building some mockups using different tools as Figma and Angular, JavaScript, etc. With that, we go to the next one, would be the first version of the product, the first version of the user interface, a mockup version that it is really useful to measure the impact and receive feedback. Next slide, please. Okay. This measurement will come from workshops and validation sessions, and we will also use analytics and feedback gathered within the tool as, for example, questionnaires for the users, and also with meetings with project partners in charge of citizen engagement and social incentives. And with all this data, we restart the loop again because this is an iterative process, sorry. And that's a really quick overview of how we have trying to integrate user experience into user interface and improving citizen engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are any questions of this very user-friendly tool and process that she just presented. If There are no questions for the moment. I think it's Dimitrios will summarize what we've learned today. Or
Yes, hello again.
yes, thank you.
Okay, now after hearing all these today's insights, let's revisit what Empower has taught us, at least from the side of European dynamics, but I think you all agree. First of all, start small. Even one building can make a difference and prove value fast. Second, the usage of open tools and standards can grow vendor lock-in for our solutions. Third, the fact that you can be transparent about what's collected and why, it's very important since trust always follows clarity. And finally, the technology is here, is ready, and the success depends on making it meaningful for people and communities. So we can proceed to the next slide. So let's discuss why it matters to understand all this from project to platform processes. First of all, you can build an energy community without trust, and trust comes from open data and values and restrictions that are included in them. With tools like the Empower True Connector, any community can start collecting and sharing data responsibly. Each new community adds value for the next designed and completed community through shared templates, shared models, and shared trust. And that's how we move from isolated pilots to a living network of communities that learn from each other. And in short, we don't scale technology, we scale the understanding and the usage of the platforms. We can move to the next slide. Finally, why it is very important to scale up. Scaling happens when people feel the benefits, and we need to make the exact results in order to make people feel more comfortable and feel that they are gaining value, let's say. Open standards, simple onboarding, and clear communication build confidence and reduce barriers, of course. As residents see savings, comfort, and autonomy, engagement grows and replication starts naturally following a network system of scaling. And of course, the early formation of an ecosystem is important for faster benefits for citizens, greater local value, and a stronger, more resilient economy. Concluding, ultimately, scaling Empower means empowering others to build their own energy story. This is our final motto, let's say. And this was all about the conclusion. You can feel free to make any comments.
Thank you very much, Dimitrios, and it was a very romantic ending about building our energy story.
We hope
So
we will inspire the following activities.
thank you very much. And yes, we're reaching the end of this session, but also the program. Sadly, everything that starts needs to end. So we wanted to give you a really short wrap up of what we have learned so far in this. I think it's a month today since we started this series of webinars. So we're going to be very quick. We're going to start, trying to remember what we learned last month. So I think it was here. It's presented in 5 bullet points. We learned about digital tools, how they make energy participation something more practical through automation and other digital tools. We learned that the tools empower both citizens and also any community managers. So it's for both. We learned that as today as well, the topic of data and trust, that this both goes hand in hand. And we show also some examples from the pilots, and also some key takeaways about digitalization and local engagement. They work very well together. Do you remember what we learned in the second session, Julian?
Of course, we had a very interesting second session also about empowering citizens in energy communities through regulation, actually. We understood the EU legal backbone, the regulatory EU level. Then we also went deeper into the national differences in the Empower pilot countries. We saw that flexibility was the missing link, as demand-side flexibility and storage solutions that need clear regulation and interoperability. Municipalities are, of course, key enablers, promoting these local energy communities. And the big takeaway is that a strong, transparent regulatory framework is essential for citizen participation, fair market, and scaling community-based renewable energy. And then we had the third session before this last one. Oscar, what did we learn there?
Yeah, it was the last week. So we learned about social engagement and technological innovation, how they can go hand in hand, no? And we learned about how to engage people, no? And we learned that they want to engage, but sometimes they just don't see clearly where the opportunities are to join energy community. We learned about that engagement needs to be flexible and also inclusive, because we are dealing with people from different backgrounds and from different ages. And also related to that, we need to tailor incentives to different audiences. That was a really interesting insight from last session. Last but not least, we learned about how social approaches can also inform digital tool development, which is like a link that we don't see so clearly, but this also goes the other way around. And I think this was mostly what Carolina presented today with the cycle. It was about getting people and talking about what they need or benefit from in the digital tool development. So we can saw that link today as well. And we learn about a place-based approach that they work together. No, and we got the example from Dingle in Ireland, where they introduced just to these topics of scaling deep and diffusion of sustainability. So I think that's it from the recap, and we can just close today's session. I think you know that webinar 1, 2, 3, and number 4 is going to be available in the project website. We also had a special session with other projects, FEDECOM and SmartCore, also dealing with renewable communities and flexibility and digital tools. So we have also that recording available, and we are going to publish soon a newsletter, news on that. I introduced today about the Empower Playbook that will be also shared. And in case you have questions about the certificates that were announced for joining this leadership program, we invite you to reach us out, because we need to sort this out. So please feel free to ask us via email. And I don't know if I missed anything, Julian.
I think that's all. Thank you, Oscar. We will again send all of this by email, so don't worry, you will have an email with all the information and processes. And yeah, I would like to thank everyone for this journey of digital energy communities. I think we learned a lot. Also, thank you to the amazing speakers, and thank you, everyone.
Yes, big applause to everyone
Thank
who
you.
joined.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.